Here is where you may find a little difference between the teachings that we study in Gnosis and the spiritual teachings that are studied in most other schools. Most of the schools that teach about involution state that humanity is on an eternally ascending slope and is gradually just getting better and better. And gradually, little by little, will return to the light. In the same way that the light is returned at the end of a cosmic day. That the spirit will draw back its consciousness. And then we will go back as spiritually enlightened beings. This is what many of these schools state. This is a very New Age idea. And science believes something comparable. That life in its movement is just simply getting better from day to day. And yet there's no evidence anywhere to support these beliefs. None. When we sincerely look at the state of our world, we can see that, in fact, this entire planet is in a process of decay. But most especially, the humanoids, us. We are diseased. We are not spiritually evolving. We are spiritually devolving. Stagnant, in other words. Because when we reach this humanoid kingdom, in order to advance, to enter into a more superior level of life, this cannot be done mechanically. Nature does not automatically create angels and masters and Buddhas. If it did, there would be millions of angels and masters and Buddhas among us right now. But we don't see that. What we see among us are murderers, rapists, thieves, and liars. Where is the supposed golden age of humanity going to come from? From our greed? From our lust? From our anger? From our hate? How can a golden age emerge from this society that values money over a life? That we will kill for paper. How can a golden age emerge from that? How can a spiritual master emerge from someone who's consumed with envy, with jealousy, with pride? It cannot. The humanoid creature can become an angel, a Buddha, but not mechanically, by will. This is the difference. The humanoid creature has to develop will, individual will, not collective will, individual. This is because to become an angel, to become a master, is to become a creature with tremendous power. And to wield such power, you must have understanding. You must have wisdom. Why would God give this diseased humanity spiritual power? This humanity that only wants to conquer, to crush, to take. Why would God, the angels, the Buddhas, bestow upon us the gifts of clairvoyance, of astral travel, of powers over the four elements of nature, the ability to move from dimension to dimension at will, when we are consumed with pride, when we're consumed with desire, when we are influenced from moment to moment by resentment, by envy, by craving? This is an impossibility. You as a parent would never give your angry child a gun, because you know that that angry child would turn on you. God is the same, but much more intelligent. Therefore, it's required of us that if we want to develop, we have to do it by will. The development of this light of the Ein Sof comes through knowing itself, comprehending its own self. Knowledge. But conscious knowledge. Not book knowledge. Experiential knowledge. Awakened knowledge. Therefore, we begin in these studies to learn how to awaken the consciousness so that we can perceive these things for ourselves. We begin by learning how to see our own mind for what it is. It is an animal mind. It is a mind that nature bestowed upon us because we needed it to develop in those levels of nature. But now, to become a real human being, we have to discard the animal mind, the mind of desire and instinct and impulse, and create a human mind. The word human is a compound word. Man, M-A-N, comes from manas, which is a Sanskrit word related to mind. We have an inferior mind, manas, animal mind, which is capable of behaving as an animal. Hu is related to spirit. A human is someone whose mind is controlled by their spirit. An angel, a master. Someone whose mind is in the service of the Ein Sof. Someone whose mind has will that acts in accordance with the laws. Does not break the laws of nature. A human being is an angel. A human being is a product of will. The point of life is not simply to emerge as a humanoid, to eat, to drink, to make children, and to die. To gather wealth, to try to become famous, only to die. This would be quite useless. This would be very sad. And unfortunately, many people believe this is all life is about. Satisfying all of our desires. Gathering as much money and sexual experience as we possibly can before we die. To acquire as much power, as much pleasure as we can before we die. This is the philosophy of our modern humanity. This is not the philosophy of one culture. This is not the decay and degeneration of one small group. This is the decay of an entire race. Humanity as a whole only believes in desire, in satisfying lust, in building pride, in feeding envy. All of these things are the ego, the I. And if you'll recall, in the Ein Sof, there is no I. There is no ego. If we want to return to that light, we cannot have ego. We have to be free of desire, at perfect peace, with absolute equanimity, no craving, no aversion, clean and awake. Life does have a point. Life is not in existence simply for the satisfaction of desires. As a matter of fact, when you look closely at life, when you look closely at nature, you can see this. If you observe our place in the world, you can see that all of the minerals, all of the plants, all of the animals provide an environment for us. An environment within which we can gather and acquire tremendous amount of self-understanding. All the minerals and plants and animals provide to us a theater within which we can act. In some way, it seems as if all of nature exists just so that the human being can appear on the stage. But not the human being as we are now. The human being we are now is diseased and is destroying itself, destroying its own habitat. We're destroying our own food. We're corrupting all the plants. We're making all the animals extinct, or we're bending them to our will. We're corrupting the very air we breathe. We're poisoning each other with lust, with pride, with fear. What animal destroys itself? What animal destroys its own habitat, its own food supply? Only a diseased one. Only a sick one. Only a sick and diseased animal bites the hand that feeds it. Only a sick and diseased animal bites the hand of the doctor, which is what we do. We bite the hand that feeds us. We criticize and attack those who try to help us. This includes our parents. This includes the people who hire us to do a given job, and then we turn and criticize them and gossip about them. This is true of our spiritual leaders who give us the teaching, and we in turn gossip about them, criticize them, put them down. We're the only creatures who do that, who are so diseased with the I, with the ego, that we destroy the very support that gives us existence. We're eating off our own arms and legs. This is very sad. But it is a fact. And how can a golden age emerge from that? How can a golden age emerge from this society that celebrates violence and lust? That rejects consciousness, that rejects patience, love, charity, compassion. Our society as a whole laughs at these qualities. And you can see that if you observe any aspect of our society, in the media or in our relations with each other. We love our anger. We love to stand out. We love to be noticed. We love to get things from others. We love to get something for nothing. But unfortunately, life is not the way we think it is. Because energy and matter cannot be destroyed. Remember? Every time we feed pride, every time we act on lust, every time we protect our fears and our envy and our jealousy, we instill energy into those psychological elements. Thus, when we die, that mind still traps enormous energy. All the energy of all of our egotistical actions in our lifetime are still there. What happens is that with our physical death, all those energies are not in the physical world. We have the same sort of cycle that we see in the rising and passing of the sun. But that sun is consciousness. When we're born, the consciousness enters into the body, and we're born. That is our cosmic day. That is our little manvantara. When we die, the light recedes. The physical body is left inert, like the match. That light goes to another dimension. It recedes. Yet, that light is trapped. It's trapped in klipot, in the inferior dimensions, modified by all those heavy laws. Karma. This is where pride lives. This is where lust lives. This is where fear exists, in hell. Our own psychological hell. Our own karma. Therefore, when the physical body dies, the light recedes into limbo, until such a moment as the impulse of our karma drives us back into a new physical body, driven by karma. And then we begin to play out all of the residual effects from our previous actions. But what is worse, we add more. Because we continue to be identified with pride, with fear, with envy. And so we add more onto the pile of garbage that we've already accumulated. This is the state of humanity. Death is no answer. Death is a change of clothes. Death is a movement from one day to another. It is not an end. The only way to escape this terrible cycle is by will. Because unfortunately, as we go from human lifetime or humanoid lifetime from one to another, and we accumulate more and more garbage, we build more pride, we build more desire, we build more lust. That weight becomes so substantial that it sinks. And thus we devolve. But there is a threshold beyond which we can no longer manifest in the physical world because the weight is too much. Then we enter into hell, symbolized by Dante in the Divine Comedy, symbolized by the infernos of all the great religions. Hell, or the inferno, is not a theory. It is nature's recycling plant, where those sparks of light which have failed to develop human will are recycled by nature, cleansed of all of their mistakes, cleansed of pride, cleansed of anger, cleansed of lust. Nature provides that as a gift, but it is very painful. Within that pride is trapped light, consciousness. Within that anger is trapped light, consciousness. If we don't extract it, if we don't destroy that I, that ego, nature will do it for us. This is a form of devolution. When our consciousness, trapped in the mind, is cycled through the process of the second death, which is mentioned in the Gospels. This is very painful and takes a long, long time. It's better to do the dissolution of the I now, to destroy all those thoughts of desire, emotions of desire, and impulses of desire now, while we have a chance. This is called revolution. To revolt against our own mind, against ourselves. This is what spirituality is supposed to be. An angel is born by will, by a tremendous revolution, psychological revolution. The Buddha did not become the Buddha mechanically just because nature did that. The Buddha became the Buddha by willpower. He had to work. Jesus did not become Jesus because of nature. He became that because of will. Will driven by compassion, by wisdom, by intelligence. The purpose of our lives is to do the same, to revolt against ourselves. When the I is dead, when the I is gone, what remains is the consciousness. Pure, brilliant, radiant, and divine. We've had millions of years of evolution. Human beings, humankind, has been developing for a very long time. And if this current civilization is the peak of evolution, according to the theories that are given, then it is extremely depressing. If thousands upon thousands of years culminate in this sick and perverse culture, that is a very sad thought. If our all the sufferings of all of our ancestors culminate in the rape and betrayal and destruction that's going on now, that would be abominable. Thus, we can see that this is not evolution. The result of going along the way we have has resulted in the ego. All of the experiences that we've had through life thus far, acting according to the way we've been acting and following the theories that we've been given, has resulted only in suffering. Suffering is not becoming less. A golden age implies that people do not suffer, or suffer very little. But the suffering of humanity in these moments is so intense, we have no conception of it. Because we're all in our own little world, just concerned with our own little petty concerns. Worried about our next paycheck, or worried about our little project, or worried about our computer, or our car, or worried about our spouse, or thinking about next week and we've got this meeting or a job or we're going to go here or there. So petty, so shallow, so insignificant, like pieces of dust. We have no conception of the pervasive suffering that afflicts humanity. The disease that is ransacking the hearts and minds of everyone. Because we are asleep. The consciousness that we have within us is sleeping. We have not developed it. We have not awakened it. And thus we are in our little cage of thoughts and feelings and sensations, swept along by the great wave of this humanity, which is expiating itself against the rocks of existence. That wave has a great deal of energy, but it is at the point of death. The wave of humanity is striking the rocks. The rocks are the end of the line. That wave is subsiding now. And what is the result? Humanity is entering into the abyss in waves. The end of this race is happening. No one in Atlantis believed it. No one in the Roman Empire believed it. No one in any of the great civilizations like the Aztecs, none of them believed it. But they were warned and they were told, if you persist in the way you're behaving now, you will enter into hell. And you will be recycled by nature. And everybody laughs. Ha ha ha. Hell is an illusion, they say. That's all theories, they say. You're just trying to scare us, they say. It's very sad. Humanity being so stubborn, so self-destructive, and so asleep. Fortunately, we still have a few moments to take advantage of this unique opportunity. The only one who can do it is you. I can't help you. No teacher can save you. No school. No book. By learning how to connect directly with your own spark of consciousness and to activate it, to bring it to life from moment to moment in each experience. But whatever you're doing, to become cognizant and in turn to master your own mind. This is a terrible revolution because we are so conditioned by our habits, by our karma, by laziness, by theories, by all kinds of pressures from collective mind. We all just want to go along with life, to just ride the wave with all our friends and with all of our family members, and to just be swept right along. We don't want to go against the current. We don't want to renounce our desires. We don't want to give up fornication. We don't want to give up our addiction to sensations. We don't want to give up our pride. We don't even want to give up our anger or our resentment or our hurt feelings. We love them too much. Thus, we condemn ourselves to death. Not just physical death, the second death. All of our experiences and all of our pain are meaningless. This is the saddest part of all. They are meaningless. Remember the law of invariance? It returns energy to its primordial state. When we provoke anger in ourselves and we project that energy must return. This is why we suffer. That energy comes back to us. It is our own fault. We blame everybody else, but it is our own fault. If we didn't react, then that energy would return, and that situation would be null, satisfied, zero. We'd be done. If that karma came, that suffering came, and we did not react, and we just accepted it, then we would pay. But we don't do that. We react. We get mad. We get upset. We become emotional. We get sad. We want revenge. So what do? We inject more energy. And thus the cycle begins. And our suffering grows. In the end, when nature takes us to clear us of all these debts, nature applies all those energies back onto us. All of the things that we did to project all those energies in the wrong way is returned once more, and we suffer the consequences. This is the nature of hell. It takes a long time, because we've been doing this stuff for a long time. Eventually, when all the debts are paid, all the energy is flat again, everything is made balanced, we start again. Exactly where we started before, having gained nothing. A simple spark who's just been swinging around the wheel of life for millions of years and has acquired nothing. No development. Just lots and lots of pain. Fortunately, nature gives us a chance to do it over, to try again, to try to reach a human existence once more, and to try to break free of the wheel of samsara, to become perfected.
It's also dangerous when we're doing the tarot card readings and the ego can just manipulate that.
Of course. You have to meditate. When you get any kind of symbol, whether it's from the tarot or from a dream or meditation, you have to meditate further. Because our own ego is always there trying to filter and corrupt, to interpret. Remember, the Master says the I is an interpreter. We don't need that. What we need is intuition, which spontaneously comprehends the real meaning. But the I has to be removed. So we need samadhi. We need to meditate. Then you can grasp the real meaning. That's the only place, when the I is not there, that you can definitively discover the true meaning of something. While we're physical, we don't know. While we're here, as we are, with the ego very much with us, we cannot have that confidence. There's a question in the back?
You said that we enter into hell when we can no longer manifest in the physical world. But I was under the impression that during the time we are devolving, we are manifested physically as devolving animals. Is this also true?
Well, what I said was in synthesis. The question is about the process of devolution and how we enter into the inferior worlds. The process of entering into the inferior worlds is gradual and immediate at the same time. When our ego is very heavy, that ego belongs to hell. And there are cases, probably more than we would like to hear about, of knowing that certain masters and teachers have reported encountering parts of their own ego in animals that they encountered physically. So our mind is so heavy with ego and karma that the masters in the law, out of compassion, will take certain parts of that mind and place it into the organisms of animals in order to start that process of devolution, to lighten our load temporarily, to give us a chance to work. This is a compassionate act. But there is a threshold at which we have exhausted our opportunities. If we demonstrate no serious endeavor or effort to revolt against our own mind, our own being is the one who puts us in hell. Our own being is the one who says, it's useless. My child is not listening to me, only wants to feed his desires. I've tried to help him as long as I can, but he's not returning to me. So our own being will cut that tie and we descend. Like that. Now, what happens here is quite sophisticated. The consciousness is in the abyss, trapped in the ego. But that ego is made up of a multiplicity of elements. Some of those elements belong to lower spheres, some to higher spheres of the klipot. Some of those elements will also have physical bodies as animals. You have to remember that everything in nature works according to laws. And there are multidimensional aspects to everything. The way we explain in these lectures is hugely simplified, because the true function of the wheel is so complex. Remember the example of the wave that I was giving you? If you watch a wave at the beach, can you really understand all the laws and forces that are moving the wave? No. And that's just one wave. Now try to put into your mind all of the species that exist on the planet, not only existing physically, but they exist in the fourth and fifth dimensions as well. So how is that? Can your mind conceive of that huge, interdependent, interconnected process? So just keep that in mind when we explain these things. There's another question in the back.
Are most people alive now at the same stage, at the same part of the wave of devolution, or are some only recently starting in a humanoid body? If so, what happens to them?
The human beings, the humanoids, move in waves in the same way that the animals and plants and minerals do. Our current humanity, which is this fifth race on this planet, the Aryan race, is a great wave. That great wave has many components. Again, if you go to the ocean and you see a huge wave, it has a lot of parts, a lot of different sections on the wave, a lot of different components, and that's our race is similar to that. When that wave strikes the rocks, there are some right in the front, and there are some towards the back. The wave strikes with a movement of time. And the same is true of humanity. Many of our brothers and sisters of this humanity have already entered into devolution in the inferior worlds. Many. Many more are behind us. Some of us may be on our last existence. Some of us may have one or two more. But in general, the entire human race on this planet, our human race, our brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers and children are moving as a group, as a herd. There are a few who are exceptions to that. But so rare, there's almost no point in discussing it. Any other questions? Every human organism has an opportunity. No matter your state, no matter your karma. If you're in a human body, you can work. Even if you're paraplegic, blind and deaf and dumb, you can meditate because you have consciousness. It doesn't make any real difference in the big picture as long as you're making effort. Now, it's true that if you have physical limitations, or you have physical damages, or you've had problems or circumstances in life that limit your capacities, it will be difficult. But Samael Aun Weor stated very clearly, if you hear of these teachings when you're an old woman or an old man, and you no longer have the sexual power you did when you were a youth, don't lose heart. Prepare yourself for your next existence. Learn about yourself. Meditate. Change. All of us can do that. No matter what our condition. Every one of us can change. And that's the great power that's in our hands. That power of will. We can change, no matter our circumstances.